Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about Solana because up until just barely, we've seen kind of a little bit of an interesting pattern kind of developing within the Solana chart. And so I want to talk about that a little bit further, as well as just kind of what's going on overall within the crypto market, where we could be heading next, all of that type of stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. So starting out, what we can see is, again, still kind of a mixed day in the market. It is showing kind of overall a red day, but we can see it's pretty mixed. I mean, kind of just as much green as there is red. But if we do look, Solana up about 3.5% just today, with Bitcoin about 1.8%. So we can see Bitcoin still continuing its move to the upside. It is kind of inching closer and closer to that $100,000 mark, which I know is going to be kind of a huge mark for everybody. Once we do hit that point, I think there's kind of a general level of sentiment that, like, you know, maybe we'll kind of run up to that $100,000 mark and then maybe kind of either go sideways or maybe even pull back a little bit for the next little while, just for the next like second leg up of what I would consider like Bitcoin's kind of move to its like top for the cycle. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Solana so far has been keeping up really well with Bitcoin. It's been doing quite well, kind of holding its own, even outperforming Bitcoin most of the time, which not many other alts can say the same thing. Alts generally have kind of been struggling so far, which again is kind of, I would say, somewhat common or standard for, you know, the Bitcoin dominated part of the cycle, which we still very much are in. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a second. But yeah, I mean, when Bitcoin dominance is still really high, alts usually bleed to Bitcoin and don't do as well. And so Solana has been one of the few exceptions where we've kind of seen that look, you know, a little bit different. So what we can see kind of looking at the chart here is exactly that, right? I mean, moving in somewhat lockstep with kind of how Bitcoin has been doing, and since it's kind of a smaller coin, it's actually been moving as a percentage a little bit more than what Bitcoin has been seeing. We did see over the past couple of days, you know, it did look like there was seeming to be a little bit of exhaustion kind of within the Solana chart. If we zoom in a little bit, we could see, you know, wick here, bigger wick here, and a move to the downside, another big wick with another move to the downside. So, I mean, we have seen, you know, a pretty strong pump today, which is good. We are definitely, you know, we're starting to see another wick here. Obviously, the candle hasn't closed yet because this is a daily candle. So maybe this continues to go up. I don't know. But I mean, there even still kind of, there is a general kind of sense of exhaustion showing here. We can kind of see this in the RSI as well. The RSI is showing overbought. And so the fact that we are kind of starting to stall out a little bit isn't too big of a concern. We can see we actually have kind of pulled in toward the top of the Bollinger Band, which is good. Another thing that I think we are seeing here is, you know, we are kind of ever so slightly close, and we actually did just barely break over 250 today. 250 is kind of a bit of a psychological barrier, I would say, and then coming up we're going to be hitting that 260 previous all-time high. And so right now I do think we're going to be seeing a lot of kind of liquidity and volatility within the 250 to 260 range. One, because 250 is a little bit of a psychological barrier or a psychological resistance, and then after that we're going to be pushing new all-time highs. So overall, I would say don't really stress out too much if we kind of struggle in this 250 to 260 range, just because we do have a lot kind of going on in this very tight space. And so, you know, I think overall things are looking good. I do think we will break it eventually, but it may take a minute just because of kind of what we're dealing with. So just be patient, you know, we'll get there. And overall, I think we will see it. It's kind of a matter of time of you know, whether we do it in 2024, or maybe we do have to wait till early 2025. It's hard to say overall, but I do think, you know, as we can see, obviously, like the chart looking absolutely fantastic for Solana. So not a whole lot to be concerned about here. If you are interested in trading Solana or Bitcoin or anything for that matter, you can feel free to use my BTCC link in the description below. I am partnered with them for the month on the channel, and things like they've put together a really, really fantastic offer. So they are doing a 10% bonus on first time deposits, in addition to all of the like normal stuff that you see. So like, for example, if you were to deposit $10,000, you would get $1,000 bonus that you could use to, you know, trade or do whatever you want with, which would be fantastic. In addition to, you do still have the new user bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. And then you also have up to 500x leverage trading, over 300 crypto pairs, and no VPN or KYC necessary if that's something that you're not wanting to do. So, I mean, overall, really solid. If you are interested, like I said, just feel free to check out the link in the description and go on ahead and get signed up. Now, the next thing I want to check out is something interesting that I've been kind of noticing over the past couple of days is we've kind of seen up until very, very recently, where we saw kind of this, you know, super strong green candle here. We'd seen something a little bit interesting starting to kind of take place, between Bitcoin and Solana. So as I said, kind of ever since the election, Bitcoin and Solana have both moved up massively, and we can kind of see they've kind of fallen together in somewhat lockstep. However, over the past couple of days, we'd started to see something a little bit different in that Solana was kind of starting to bleed to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was very consistently moving to the upside, and Solana was very consistently moving to the downside. Now, obviously, we have seen that change. Obviously, Bitcoin kind of jumped up a little bit here, but, kind of Solana's moved a little bit higher, and then Bitcoin's kind of started to pull back a little bit. We're starting to see something similar. So, this looking kind of more like they're mirroring each other, but at least right in here, we had a little bit of a, it looked like Solana might have been kind of fading back into this, like, what basically most other alts are doing while Bitcoin is moving up. Bitcoin moves up, alts move down. That's what happens when we're in Bitcoin season. If we do move on, we can see that we're not technically in Bitcoin season totally, but we are much closer to Bitcoin season than we are altcoin season. And this is kind of what you expect to see when we're here, right? And when we get into altcoin season, we can see exactly the opposite, right? Bitcoin's either going to stay level or maybe even move slightly to the downside, while alts just rocket. And so, I think we're all kind of prepared for that. I think we kind of know that that's what's going to be happening. But overall, this was starting to look a little bit interesting, and especially where Solana's been performing so well, seeing it bleed to Bitcoin, even for a short period of time, was a little bit not necessarily concerning, but it's something that we haven't been used to seeing, I guess I should say, this cycle. So, it does look like we have kind of broken out of that, at least here recently. We can see volume again coming in, looking super, super strong. Things looking good. Honestly, Solana looking fantastic this cycle. I still don't have really any complaints about Solana overall. One thing that we also can see if we go to X is we can see that Bitwise has actually filed for a Solana ETF. So definitely more Solana ETF filings coming in. It'll be interesting to see how the Solana ETFs do. Obviously, the Bitcoin ETFs have been a resounding success. They've done incredibly well. I don't think there was anybody that really expected the level of success that we saw out of the Bitcoin ETFs. I mean, that was, I think, some pretty staggering success. However, on the other hand, we have the Ethereum ETFs, which have been, I would say, wholly underwhelming. We haven't really seen any super positive news out of the Ethereum ETFs. I mean, inflows have been kind of lagging. I think it's actually been net outflows ever since like the ETFs have launched. So that, I mean, it's been lagging. It hasn't really been kind of keeping up with the expectations or the performance that we've seen out of Bitcoin. And now I think there are several reasons as to why this could be. I think primarily there's just more to do with Ethereum, right? And realistically, if you aren't staking your Ethereum, you're kind of losing out kind of to everybody else that holds Ethereum. So when you have something like an ETF, you can't really, stake your Ethereum. And most people who are holding Ethereum are generally going to be a little bit more savvy in terms of like what to do with it and how to use it, all that type of stuff. And so even institutions who would like to hold Ethereum, I would imagine they would rather hold like the actual thing and stake it for those 4% returns, just because that, I mean, if you're not, you're just kind of losing out to the rest of the market on something that is basically readily available to anybody. And so I think that's kind of like probably the main reason why the Ethereum ETF has struggled so hard. And so, it'll be interesting to see how Solana does. Obviously, Solana has staking. There are more things that you can do with Solana. And so part of me thinks that Solana might kind of follow in the Ethereum ETF path more than it might follow in the Bitcoin ETF. But it is hard to say because Solana has done really, really well in terms of price appreciation. And who knows, we might see people kind of rushing into the Ethereum ETF as price kind of starts to go up. So overall, it's hard to say for sure what's going to happen. If I had to kind of place my bets right now, I would probably place it closer to the Ethereum rather than the Bitcoin side. But like I said, I think that's just because there's more to do with this type of stuff, where Bitcoin, I know there's like some development coming on Bitcoin and potential ways to stake Bitcoin and stuff and like whatnot in the future. But at least as of right now, there's no real serious thing that you can do with your Bitcoin other than just hold it. And so, that I think is kind of why the ETF has done so well, where Ethereum kind of has struggled. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really, really does help me out. Also, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, just feel free to use the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.